There is a moment in time when the pages of history and the scrolls of prophecy converge, when the divine clock strikes a pivotal hour. That moment is not random, nor is it coincidental. It is orchestrated, predetermined, and destined to come to pass. We stand now at the precipice of such a moment that calls us to awaken, to perceive, and to respond. May 6, 2025 is not just another day on the calendar, it is a turning point. To understand why, we must look beyond the surface of our world and peer into the currents moving beneath. In times of transition, signs and patterns emerge, whispers from the divine, guiding those with eyes to see and ears to hear. These signs are not meant to scare but to prepare, not to paralyze but to mobilize. Throughout history, there have been moments when the natural and the supernatural collide, when the spiritual realm invades the physical. These moments are not without warning. Before the flood, there was the call to enter the ark. Before the Exodus, there was the command to mark the doors. Before transformation, there is always a call to preparation. We have witnessed a series of events, political upheavals, natural disturbances, moral decay. These are not isolated occurrences, they are interconnected. They are part of a prophetic countdown, a series of divine alarms designed to rouse us from complacency. We must understand that these signs are not to be dismissed or overlooked. They are like the tolling of a bell resonating through the corridors of time, reminding us that something NG monumental is approaching. The convergence of specific dates and events is not an accident. Throughout sacred texts, dates have carried significance beyond their numerical value. They mark divine appointments, moments when heaven touches earth and shifts the trajectory of nations. As we approach this specific date, we must examine the patterns, discern the signs, and prepare our hearts. This is not a call to fear but to faith. It is not an invitation to retreat but to advance. There is a purpose for this appointed time, a divine turning point. We are called to stand firm, to seek wisdom, to walk in righteousness. We must strengthen the foundations that are rooted in truth, for only those foundations will endure the coming winds. In moments like this, history records those who rise with courage and vision. We are not to be passive spectators, but active participants in the unfolding of destiny. Our choices in this time will echo into the future. Let us choose wisely. Let us move forward not in confusion, but in clarity. The hour calls for discernment, for unwavering commitment to the path of truth. This is the moment to awaken our spirits, to rekindle our faith, to prepare our hearts. As the prophetic countdown reaches its climax, may we not be found asleep but alert, engaged, and ready to move in alignment with the divine purpose. We stand at the threshold. The decision to embrace or ignore the signs is ours. Let us choose wisely and move forward with courage, purpose, and unwavering faith. Divine Turning Point, May 6, 2025, is presented as a significant moment in divine prophecy, a critical turning point where the spiritual and physical realms will intersect. Historical patterns and prophetic countdown. The speech emphasizes the importance of recognizing signs and patterns throughout history that serve as divine warnings, signaling that something monumental is approaching. Call to preparation, not fear. Instead of promoting fear, the message encourages preparation, faith, and active engagement in response to the approaching moment. Responsibility to act. Listeners are urged to be more than passive observers. They are called to discern the signs, strengthen their spiritual foundations, and actively participate in the unfolding of divine destiny. Clarity and courage in uncertainty. The speech ends with a call for clarity, courage, and unwavering faith, encouraging individuals to stand firm in truth as the prophetic hour approaches. Divine Turning Point, unveiling the significance of May 6, 2025 throughout history. There have been moments when the ordinary is touched by the extraordinary, when the mundane is pierced by the divine. Such moments are not random, They are orchestrated by a higher power, planned with precision, and unveiled at the appointed time. May 6, 2025 is one such moment, a divine turning point destined to reshape the course of history and the trajectory of human lives. But what makes this day significant? Why should we consider it a moment of divine intersection between the spiritual and the physical realms? To understand, we must explore the nature of divine turning points and the signs that mark them. Understanding divine turning points, a divine turning point is not merely a date on a calendar. It is a moment when the spiritual world breaks through the veil of the natural, influencing events, transforming lives, and altering destinies. These moments are marked by divine purpose and carry profound spiritual significance. In sacred texts and ancient prophecies, such moments have been foretold, days when heaven touches earth, when prophecy is fulfilled, and when the plans of the Almighty become visible to humanity. Throughout history, divine turning points have come with warning signs, often ignored by the complacent but recognized by the watchful. Before the great flood, there was the call to enter the ark. Before the exodus from Egypt, there was the command to mark the doors with the blood of the Lamb. Before the fall of ancient kingdoms, prophets were sent to sound the alarm. These were not random acts. They were divine interventions, moments when the spiritual and physical intersected. The prophetic countdown to May 6, 2025, May 6, 2025, does not stand alone. It is part of a prophetic countdown, a series of events that have been building toward a climactic moment. The world has been experiencing unprecedented turbulence, political instability, natural calamities, moral decay, and societal upheavals. These are not isolated incidents. They are interconnected, forming a prophetic tapestry that points to a coming turning point. Sacred texts often use dates and seasons to mark divine appointments, moments when heaven's purposes manifest in earthly realities. The convergence of these events is not by chance. Those with eyes to see and ears to hear recognize that the current age is marked by a deep spiritual battle, a clash between light and darkness, truth and deception. In such a time, May 6, 2025, stands as a marker, a moment when this clash will reach a new phase, a call to discernment and preparation. Recognizing a divine turning point is not enough. One must also respond to it. The significance of May 6, 2025, lies not only in the events that will unfold, but in the choices we make in response. It is a call to awaken, to discern the times, and to prepare our hearts and lives. Preparation means turning from deception and embracing truth, forsaking complacency and choosing commitment, rejecting fear and embracing faith. In moments of divine turning, the choices of individuals can alter their destinies. Those who stand in faith, who seek wisdom, and who align their lives with divine truth will not be overwhelmed by the coming storms. They will be like the wise who build their houses on solid rock. Why this turning point matters. May 6, 2025 is not just a date. It is a divine appointment. It is a moment when the spiritual and physical realms will intersect, when divine purpose will manifest in new ways. To ignore it is to miss the call of the hour, but to recognize it is to position oneself for divine alignment, blessing, and purpose. This turning point is an invitation, a call to rise above fear, to stand firm in faith, and to become part of a greater narrative, one that transcends time and touches eternity. Historical patterns and prophetic countdown, recognizing the divine warnings of history is more than a record of human achievements, wars, and civilizations rising and falling. It is a tapestry woven with divine messages, a chronicle of moments when the spiritual touched the physical, and heaven intervened in earthly affairs. For those with eyes to see, history is a prophetic scroll, revealing patterns and signs that point to divine truths. These patterns are not random, they are divine warnings, reminders that history is not cyclical but a journey toward a predetermined purpose. Understanding these historical patterns is crucial as we approach a prophetic turning point on May 6, 2025. The divine language of patterns and signs throughout sacred texts and ancient writings, we see a consistent truth. The Creator speaks through signs and patterns. In the natural world, the changing of seasons, the cycles of the moon, and the constellations in the sky serve as signs. But beyond the natural, there are divine patterns woven into human history, moments when events align, warnings are given, and destinies are determined. From the ancient flood that swept over the earth to the destruction of empires, the divine has always used signs to call humanity to awareness. Before the great flood, there was the preaching of Noah, a call to repentance and preparation. Before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, there was the visitation of angelic messengers and a plea for righteousness. Before the fall of Jerusalem, prophets cried out with warnings, but their words were ignored by a complacent generation. These were not just historical events, they were prophetic patterns, moments when divine warnings were given but often disregarded. The repeated pattern of prophetic warnings, one of the clearest patterns in history, is the cycle of warning, rejection, and consequence. Time and again, a divine message is given, urging repentance and transformation. When ignored, the consequences inevitably follow. This is not because of cruelty, but because of divine justice and mercy. The warnings are an act of grace, an opportunity to change course to avoid the approaching disaster. Ancient Egypt witnessed plagues as a warning to let the oppressed go free. Babylon fell after years of arrogance and the desecration of sacred things. Rome, once the mightiest empire, crumbled under its moral decay and spiritual blindness. These were not simply geopolitical events. They were prophetic outcomes of ignoring divine principles and rejecting the voice of truth. Modern signs and the prophetic countdown, but history is not only a record of ancient civilizations. The patterns continue in our modern age. Wars, pandemics, natural disasters, economic collapses. These are not random occurrences. They are part of a prophetic countdown, divine alarms ringing louder with each passing day. Yet, in an age of distraction and noise, many fail to recognize them. As we approach May 6, 2025, we are not witnessing isolated crises. We are seeing the convergence of multiple signs. The shaking of nations, the moral confusion, the rise of deception, and the erosion of truth all point to a deeper spiritual reality. They are signals that we are on the verge of a divine turning point. But just as in the days of Noah, many remain oblivious, eating, drinking, and living as though the world will continue unchanged. Why recognizing patterns matters now, understanding historical patterns is not about living in fear. It is about gaining clarity. Those who understand the signs of the times are not overwhelmed by the coming storms. They are prepared, discerning, and anchored in truth. Recognizing the prophetic countdown is not merely an intellectual exercise. It is a call to action. We are not powerless spectators of history. We are active participants in a divine narrative. To ignore the patterns is to walk blindly into danger, but to recognize them is to step into wisdom, to align oneself with divine purpose, and to prepare for what is coming. Awakening to the prophetic countdown, May 6, 2025, stands as a marker in this prophetic countdown, the moment when the accumulation of warnings reaches a climax. It is not just another date, it is an invitation to awaken, to discern, and to respond. Those who recognize the signs and understand the patterns will not be caught off guard. Instead, they will be ready spiritually, mentally, and even practically, prepared to stand firm in truth. History has shown that those who recognize divine warnings are not only survivors, but victors. They are those who walk in light even in the darkest of times. As we draw closer to this appointed moment, let us be those who recognize the patterns, heed the warnings, and prepare our hearts for the divine turning point that approaches. Call to preparation, not fear, embracing faith and readiness for the appointed moment in times of uncertainty, when the world trembles and darkness seems to grow. The natural response for many is fear. Fear paralyzes, blinds, and enslaves. It is the voice that whispers of defeat before the battle has even begun. But a divine message, one rooted in truth, does not call us to fear. Instead, it calls us to preparation. Preparation that is grounded in faith, wisdom, and decisive action. As we approach May 6, 2025, a prophetic turning point, this message of preparation is more critical than ever. Understanding the difference, fear paralyzes, preparation empowers. Fear is a reaction, but preparation is a choice. Fear looks at the storm and succumbs to despair. Preparation sees the storm coming and builds a shelter. Fear magnifies the threat, but preparation identifies solutions. It is this distinction that must guide our response to the prophetic countdown. The divine does not reveal coming challenges to overwhelm us, but to equip us. We are not shown signs and warnings to tremble, but to take action. The sacred texts are filled with stories of those who faced terrifying threats, yet stood without fear because they were prepared. Noah was not afraid of the flood because he had built the ark. Joseph was not afraid of the famine because he had stored grain during years of plenty. The wise virgins were not caught in darkness because they had prepared oil for their lamps. In each case, the difference between salvation and disaster was not the absence of danger, but the presence of preparation. 3 pillars of divine preparation, faith, wisdom, and action. Preparation is not just about storing supplies or securing shelter. It is a comprehensive transformation of the heart, mind, and spirit. True preparation is built on 3 foundational pillars. Faith. Faith is the anchor in the storm. It is the unwavering belief that the divine is in control, that no matter how chaotic the world becomes, there is a higher purpose at work. Faith is what allows us to see beyond the darkness, to trust that light will come, and to walk boldly even when the path is uncertain. Wisdom is the ability to discern the signs of the times, to recognize the difference between truth and deception, and to make decisions aligned with divine principles. Wisdom is what transforms information into understanding and prepares us to respond rather than react. Action. Preparation without action is empty. It is not enough to know the truth, we must live it. We are called to prepare our hearts by deepening our spiritual foundations, to prepare our minds by seeking knowledge, and to prepare our lives by making practical decisions. Action is the evidence of true preparation. The practical side of preparation is not just a spiritual concept, it has practical implications. Those who understand the times must take steps to secure their families, strengthen their communities, and build networks of support. In a world of uncertainty, wisdom may call for having resources in place, for learning skills that can sustain us, and for fostering relationships built on trust. But the greatest preparation is spiritual. It means cleansing our hearts of bitterness, seeking forgiveness, and walking in righteousness. It means grounding ourselves in truth, so that when the winds of deception blow, we will not be shaken. It means deepening our relationship with the divine, so that we are guided by peace, not panic. Rejecting fear, embracing readiness to choose preparation over fear, is to choose faith over despair. It is to recognize that while we cannot control the storms that may come, we can control how we respond. We are not helpless victims of fate. We are empowered individuals capable of making choices that align with truth and light. As May 6, 2025 approaches, we must not allow fear to dictate our actions. Instead, we must be like the watchmen on the walls, alert, discerning, and prepared. Fear whispers of defeat, but preparation speaks of victory. Fear hides, but preparation stands firm. Fear trembles, but preparation trusts. A call to awake and prepare now is the time to awaken from complacency. It is a moment to strengthen what remains, to cast off distractions, and to focus on what truly matters. Those who prepare will not only endure the coming challenges, but will become beacons of hope for others. They will stand strong while others falter, bringing light where there is darkness, peace where there is panic. Preparation is not just an individual calling, it is a collective one. Families must be prepared together, communities must unite, and the voice of truth must be shared. We are called to be a refuge for those caught in fear, a source of wisdom for those lost in confusion. The choice is before us, fear or faith, panic or preparation. May we choose wisely, not just for ourselves, but for those who will look to us in the days to come. May we stand ready, prepared in heart, mind, and spirit, for the divine turning point that approaches. Responsibility to act, becoming participants in divine destiny. There is a profound difference between being a spectator and being an active participant. A spectator watches events unfold, commenting, questioning, or even fearing, but ultimately they remain on the sidelines. In contrast, a participant steps forward, engages with purpose, and becomes part of the narrative. As we approach a prophetic turning point, our responsibility is not to merely watch and wonder, but to act with conviction, courage, and clarity. This is a call to step out of passive observation and into active engagement with divine destiny. Awakening to our responsibility throughout history, moments of great crisis and transformation have tested humanity, and in every age, two groups emerge: those who passively drift with the tides of change, and those who rise with purpose to shape the outcome. The difference between these two groups is not their circumstances, but their response. From the heroes of faith who stood firm in the face of persecution to the visionaries who transformed societies, the lesson is clear. Those who accept their responsibility to act become instruments of change. Noah did not simply observe the coming flood, he built an ark. Moses did not merely witness the suffering of his people, he confronted a tyrant and led them to freedom. Esther did not stay silent when her people were threatened, she acted at the risk of her life. These were individuals who understood that in moments of crisis, silence is complicity and inaction is a decision. The call to discern the sign's responsibility begins with discernment, the ability to see beyond the surface, to understand the times, and to recognize the divine messages within them. As the world approaches May 6, 2025, we are surrounded by signs: turbulence in nature, upheaval among nations, confusion in morals, and deception masquerading as truth. These are not random occurrences. They are part of a prophetic countdown. But discernment is not automatic. It requires an awakened spirit, a mind that seeks truth, and a heart willing to listen. To discern the signs is to look beyond the noise of the world, to filter out the distractions, and to perceive the deeper spiritual realities at play. It is the responsibility of those who see to become watchmen on the walls, alert, vigilant, and willing to sound the alarm. Strengthening spiritual foundations, recognizing the signs, is only the beginning. Our responsibility goes further. It calls us to strengthen our spiritual foundations. In a time of shaking, only what is built on truth will stand. This means examining our beliefs, correcting misconceptions, and deepening our relationship with the divine. It means grounding ourselves in principles that do not change even when everything else does. Spiritual strength is not just a matter of knowledge, it is a matter of practice. It is the daily decision to walk in integrity, to speak truth, to show compassion, and to reject deception. Those who have strong spiritual foundations will not be swept away by fear or confusion. They will stand firm, providing light and hope to those around them. From passive observation to active engagement to act is not just to speak. It is to move, to decide, to take responsibility for our world and our future. This means more than personal preparation. It means becoming agents of change. It means speaking truth in a world of lies, offering hope where there is despair, and standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult. Active engagement can take many forms. For some, it may mean leading their families with wisdom and courage. For others, it may mean becoming a voice of truth in their communities. It may mean serving those in need, confronting injustice, or sharing a message of faith and purpose. But regardless of the form, the principle remains the same. We are not called to stand on the sidelines. The power of collective responsibility. Our responsibility is not just individual, it is collective. In times of crisis, communities must come together. Families must support one another. Leaders must rise with integrity. Those with knowledge must teach. Those with strength must protect. Those with resources must share. Our combined actions can transform despair into hope, darkness into light. A single candle may seem small in a vast darkness, but 1,000 candles together can illuminate a city. When we each take responsibility, when we each act with purpose, the impact is multiplied. A choice before us as May 6, 2025 approaches. The choice is set before us. Will we be spectators or participants? Will we drift with the currents of chaos, or will we become voices of truth, anchors of faith, and beacons of light? The responsibility to act is not a burden. It is an honor. It is an invitation to step into our divine calling, to become part of a greater narrative, and to transform the world around us. We are not here by accident. We are placed in this moment with a purpose. May we choose to rise, to act, and to fulfill our responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for those who will look to us for guidance, for strength, and for hope. Clarity and courage in uncertainty. Standing firm in truth as the prophetic hour approaches uncertainty can be a powerful force. It can breed fear, confusion, and despair. In times of great change, when the world seems to tremble and the future is shrouded in shadows, many are overwhelmed by doubt. Yet, it is in these very moments of uncertainty that the greatest qualities of the human spirit are forged. Clarity and courage. As the prophetic turning point of May 6, 2025 draws near, we are called to rise above fear, to gain clarity, and to walk with unwavering courage. The nature of uncertainty. A test of faith and resolve. Uncertainty is not a new experience. Throughout history, men and women have faced moments when the future seemed unknown and darkness threatened to overcome the light. It was true for Noah as he built the ark while the world around him mocked. It was true for Moses standing before the Red Sea with an army at his back. It was true for David facing Goliath with nothing but a sling and faith. In each case, uncertainty was not a barrier, it was a test of faith, a test of courage, and a test of clarity. But uncertainty does not have to lead to despair. It can also be a call to awaken, a challenge to rise higher, to see beyond the shadows, and to find the light of truth. In the midst of confusion, those who possess clarity become beacons for others. In a world consumed by fear, those who stand with courage become protectors and leaders. Clarity, seeing beyond the shadows. Clarity is not simply having all the answers. It is having a clear vision of what is true and what is false, of what is right and what is wrong. In an age of deception, clarity is a priceless treasure. It is the ability to see through the fog of confusion, to recognize the difference between fear-driven lies and faith-driven truth. To gain clarity, one must first silence the noise. This means stepping away from distractions, questioning false narratives, and seeking wisdom from sources that are trustworthy. It means grounding oneself in principles that do not change, even when everything else does. Sacred truths, timeless values, and divine guidance become the compass that points true north in a world of chaos. But clarity is not just a mental exercise, it is a spiritual discipline. Those who walk in clarity are those who seek the light, who cultivate a relationship with the divine, and who pray for discernment. They are not easily swayed because they are anchored in truth. Courage, standing firm when fear strikes courage, is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of fear. It is the decision to stand firm even when everything around seems uncertain. It is the resolve to hold to truth even when lies seem to surround us. In the prophetic hour that approaches, courage will be one of the most critical virtues. Courage is the strength to speak truth when it is unpopular, to do what is right when it is difficult, and to stand firm when others falter. It is the choice to reject compromise and to hold fast to integrity. It is the willingness to face danger, not because there is no fear, but because there is a purpose greater than fear. Those who possess courage are not blind to the dangers. They see them clearly, but they choose to move forward anyway. They are the ones who light the way for others, who shield the weak, who inspire the fearful. Unwavering faith, the source of clarity and courage, but where do clarity and courage come from? They are born of unwavering faith. Faith is the bedrock upon which clarity stands and from which courage draws its strength. Faith is the assurance that, even in the darkest moments, there is a greater purpose at work. It is the belief that the divine is not absent but present, guiding, protecting, and providing.